About 6 months ago, Doc and I reviewed a Wonder Woman comic book from Cloonrad. It was not very good. It was the stupid Cisco story talking about milk and all that. We decided to revisit it at Wonder Woman 794. And shockingly, they're still doing stuff with milk, but they've actually dialed it up a little bit. They actually made this storyline, which was absolutely stupid and unworthy of a character as important as Wonder Woman, even dumber. And here to talk to me about that once again is Doc. How you doing, Doc?
I have no idea what in the hell I just read, but I'm significantly better for no longer being currently reading it. That's good.
Anyone hanging on Wonder Woman, it's like, I feel bad for you because this thing is terrible. I've read some of the people's comments about it, and this apparently is one of the better Wonder Woman comic books of the year, and it's absolutely trash. Everything about this is ridiculous, and not in a fun kind of way. It's almost like in a demeaning kind of way. It feels like Cloonrad went out of their way to make Wonder Woman, Cheetah, Siegfried, every character in this comic book, Steve Trevor, look absolutely stupid. This is some of the worst dialogue I've ever seen in my life.
I had to read each word bubble like 3 times because I couldn't figure out where in the hell they were ending and starting sentences. I have no idea how these people were talking, but I had to read the story like 4 times, and it was really grating and incredibly irritating because I didn't want to be reading it 1 time, much less 3 or 4, in order to figure out what the hell was going on. And even when I did finally figure out how they wanted the sentences structured, they were the most mind-numbingly stupid shit I've ever read.
Yeah, let's talk about how Cloonrad, Becky, Cloonan, and Michael Conrad team up to make every character in here look ridiculous. We had the Cisco storyline where he was trying to make Milk like the bad guy in a Wonder Woman comic book. Pretty stupid premise. I guess it ended in the last issue, but it's still going on because they're taking the milk premise to another level here. And we've got Siegfried and Cheetah attacking a milk factory in Arlington, Virginia. And this is what happens. So these guys in milk outfits pull out machine guns and start firing. And this is what Steve Trevor, who's in the military, says to Siegfried. Non-lethal force, remember, this isn't a castle siege. It's a damn milk company. Steve Trevor's a military guy. These people are shooting automatic weapons at him. Who in their right mind would ever say use non-lethal force? And that is the opening up to one of the worst comic books I've read all year.
Refusing to allow people to meet the opposing force with proportionate response, he has no business being in the military.
Well, it's because the writers are stupid. That's the big problem. And how is a guy armed with a broadsword supposed to use non-lethal force? Just chop their arms and legs off. Like, what the fuck is he supposed to do?
Yeah, these are the same writers that probably think that cops should shoot people in the knees. He doesn't have like a giant baton or some large blunt instrument to beat people with. He's has
not carrying mace.
No, he has a weapon for dismemberment. That is it. That is the purpose of a broadsword, dismemberment. That's kind of lethal by itself. What are you going to do? Even if they do chop an arm or a leg off,
you're going to get an artery. Yes.
You're going to bleed them out. So you have 2 people here attacking, one with a sword and one with razor sharp talons.
And then it gets worse from there, Doc. This is actually the high point of the comic book because it gets more dumb as we move along. I didn't think it was possible. So this is where they were heading. I couldn't believe this. It turns out Cisco is just a patsy. The real thing is the milk plot is from the gods themselves. And this is what the milk gods say when they've come back. Mankind has drunk it deeply. It seems the cream has done its work, my brothers. That it has. Cisco helped spread the word, but the simpleton was oblivious to the milk's true message. A new age is upon us. Once more, the hearts of man will be imbued with fear. They will look to Mount Olympus once more, faces upturned with terrified awe before they beg for our mercy. The gods are back as milk gods, Doc.
And then they merge into two-armed...
The cream has done its work, Doc.
Yeah, this is so stupid. You know what this is? This is somebody that is terminally online that I have a vague recollection of, like some weird thing from like right-wing Twitter from like 5 years ago about drinking milk. I feel like it was just a joke on Twitter that I didn't get, so I just kind of ignored it. But I'm pretty sure that these people, Cloonrad here, decided to take it literally, to focus on it and make it the plot of this entire story.
There's nowhere to go with this. It's going to make it good. You just heard one of the dumbest lines ever. The cream is worse. Like, ugh. So Wonder Woman has to come into this, so she has to sound stupid. We know about the milk, the lab in Brazil, and the devil's heart flour. Your days of thought control are over. The International Milk Company is finished. Oh my goodness, Doc. How diabolical. I can't wait for the sequel when apple juice tries to take over the world, Doc.
Well, and then he's going to team up with orange juice and all the other breakfast beverages. The fucking pancake gods are going to come over and take everything. No, it's going to be the Waffle King.
It would be a step up for Cloonrad with this fucking story.
This is the most retarded shit I have ever seen. Beat him with the Kellogg's Company. Just dump a bunch of fucking
That's how you defeat the milk gods. You dump cereal on them and they absorb it, right?
Exactly. And then they absorb it all and dry out.
And this is how you make Wonder Woman look absolutely stupid and insignificant in the DC Comics universe, as if that wasn't a big enough problem already. This is the reaction to all this. Look at Steve Trevor. He's a military guy. He's beside himself. His hands are on his head. He said, they really did it. They killed a god. Can't they do that? Like, this is Steve Trevor. And this is Etta Candy. And you might not recognize the character. Destroyed his earthly form, maybe. But I doubt we've seen the last of these two. Etta, what's the situation on the ground? It's like, this is Steve Trevor. He's a fucking colonel, man.
Hey, look, it's a book by Cloonrad. They need to make every man in it look absolutely and utterly fucking incompetent. Well, they make Siegfried look like a moron that just is a mindless brute. Etta Candy is the most competent person ever. And the only reason Steve Trevor's there is so that they can mock him and make him look absolutely and utterly incompetent.
Well, they did a good job, but that was the point. Like, it was effective storytelling.
Yeah. I mean, it was. If that was their goal, they achieved it perfectly. If their goal was anything other than that, they missed by a goddamn mile.
Yeah, so if they were trying to tell a good Wonder Woman story, they missed the mark a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, and then you get random floating Parthenon or something. I don't know.
It happens just like in the middle of the city. No one can recognize it, apparently. No one can understand or know what Greek architecture looks like.
In DC, nobody recognizes Greek architecture. The entire city is Greek architecture.
Yeah, it's absolutely stupid. On their way to that, we get the Siegfried character, and he's riding bitch on the back of a motorcycle to Cheetah, of course, because every male, like you said, has to be stupid. And then they go out of their way to make Cheetah look stupid. I don't think this was on purpose. They just make Cheetah sound really dumb. Steve says, Barbara, you're coming too. I thought you'd leave after we took down the milk company. And she says, I'll leave when I've had my fill. Plus, maybe if I play along like a good girl, Etta will give me a treat. It really is like they went out of their way to make every hero in here look stupid on purpose, certainly in the case of Siegfried and Steve Trevor, or just on accident with their own incompetence when it comes to Etta Candy, Cheetah, and Wonder Woman in here.
Not only that, but Wonder Woman, it barely features in this fucking comic book again. If you could have less Wonder Woman in a comic and still have Wonder Woman in a comic, I don't know how you accomplish it because she doesn't do anything here.
She just does lines like The Rock back on WWF.
So we finished this stupid comic book.
I got one more scene to get through, Doc.
Okay.
We know the villain is Hera. That's talked about quite a bit. We see the sons of Ares or whatever. And finally, we see Eros. He's this big, giant character. They even make the new villains they introduce sound like absolute morons. This is what Eros says when he's talking about what's going on. My brothers are like two poorly tuned instruments. Grandmother enjoys playing them for some reasons, but I never expect to be pleased by their song. I hope you don't hold it against them. This is what Wonder Woman says. Then tell me, what does she seek? The milk? Cisco? Dolos? I can trace it all back to Hera. That is her temple, but where is she? And he says, the Queen of Gods is nothing if not self-aware. Hera knows how divisive she can be, so I came in her stead. They just cannot get over this milk stuff. And then like my grandmother plays it too. It's like, this guy does not come off as threatening or villainous or whatever. He just comes off as stupid.
All he does is talk and talk. He doesn't actually formulate what his goal there is. He's just there to stand there and be weirdly tall.
I would say just use him as like a big reveal at the end as a cliffhanger, but then they would have to tell more of the rest of the story. And we didn't want that.
We get Wonder Girl showing up to cut its head off, and that's our big cliffhanger. The story's over.
It's just begun, Doc. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, there's no story to tell here. Hera.
You mean that milk gods aren't compelling to you?
No, milk gods aren't compelling. Hera is boring. Bitch don't even show up to her own fights. Wonder Woman's barely in this comic and everyone is incompetent. Just stop publishing this title.
Well, the most incompetent thing about the comic book, obviously, isn't even Wonder Woman or Cheetah or Steve Trevor. It's Cloonrad. That's the problem. This is not the only story involving Wonder Woman and extreme embarrassment and Cloonrad themselves. They were actually a part of Trial of the Amazons. Doc and I tried to make heads and tails of that story, and it's so bad. It's the only thing released this year, keeping this Wonder Woman comic from being on my top 10 worst comic books of the year, because Trial of the Amazons was so big and so bad that it actually trumps one really terrible issue. If you haven't seen this, or maybe you want to catch up on Trial of the Amazons and hear what Salty Doc has to say about this shit, definitely check this video out. If you don't see it here, there's a link in the video description.